Hello, everybody. Welcome to our OSDFCon webinar series. We really appreciate you being here, and we hope you're going to get valuable information from today's webinar. This webinar is being recorded, and we'll be emailing out the link to everyone who registered. So if you find it useful and informative, please feel free to share it with anyone who might be interested. Before we get started, let me introduce myself. I'm Allie Duveen. I'm the event manager at Basis Technology. I'm just going to very briefly go through some logistics. Now, I'm sure you know, but basically you're muted. If you have questions anytime during the presentation, please feel free to ask them throughout, but we will wait until the end to answer them. To submit a question, just type it into the questions pane of the control panel. And please try to be very clear and concise with your questions. We do have a lot of people on today's webinar, so the clearer your question is, the more likely it will be addressed. We scheduled the webinar for 45 minutes. After a very brief introduction from me, there's going to be a 30-minute presentation followed by a Q&A session. If you want to download the slides for today, you can access the PDF in the handout section of the control panel. We were having some technical difficulties getting the presentation into presentation mode. For whatever reason, we're not seeing it, but hopefully you can see it fine right now, or as best as we can. But if you need it for whatever reason, it is in the handout section. When the webinar ends, you'll be directed to a survey. We would really appreciate it if you could spend just 2 minutes letting us know your opinion. It does help us learn what you thought of this webinar and also what we should do on future webinars. As mentioned before, I work for Basis Technology. We've been around for 25 years, and our cyber forensics team focuses on building easy-to-use software for the people who are on the front lines of cyber. We built Autopsy, which is one of the most popular open source digital forensics tools in existence, and I imagine is what brings most of you here today. We also make a tool for incident response called Cyber Triage, which is hyper-focused on intrusion-related investigations and automates as much of the process as possible. So without further ado, let's get started. I want to introduce you to María Andrea Vignau, who will be spending the next 45 minutes with you to talk about computer autopsies. Maria works as an information systems engineer and computer expert in power of attorney in Argentina. She's also very active in her community, speaking about forensics, Python, and open source software. At least this was pre-COVID. These events are starting to move to a more virtual platform and are usually in Spanish. So if you're interested in learning when these will be, follow Maria on LinkedIn. She's going to be posting them there, and I'll also send a link to her profile in the chat so you can click on that. So Maria, welcome. Thank you for being here. Please take it away.
Thank you. Hello. Okay, I am going to explain you about how I was doing, how to conduct forensic expertise using open source tools. Part of my chain of tools are Autopsy. I am going to focus on computers, not in mobile devices, because there are different tools, different approaches. Okay, I am going to start talking about how to get evidence, some measures that some things that you need to do in order to preserve it, how to make forensic sound copies, data analysis using Autopsy, just a brief introduction, very superficial. Extending Autopsy with Python, so I will show you how to do that and some words about it. And I'm going to present you some example plugin, a very simple plugin, it's not something elaborated, but you can use it as an example. Okay, first, we are going to identify devices with storage capacity. This is the devices we need to bring to our laboratory if we can, of course. Photograph, where are there? If you are in a crime scene, you need to know exactly where they came from, because this can have additional information. See if they are turned off or off. If they are turned on, you don't have to turn off easily, but you need first to dump the RAM memory, because the RAM memory has a lot of interesting information about live connection, about live passwords. And in Autopsy, you have plugins of volatility, or you can use another tools to analyze this information, these dumps. Okay. You need to preserve every electronic device with very carefully way. We wrap up on papers and we put them on a very special place, very carefully in a special place, because you know that bumps, moistures can ruin them. So you need special storage. And sometimes when you seizure the electronic, you know that every forensic laboratory normally are with a lot of work pending. So sometimes it has to stay in storage, storage for some time. So for many days, you need to take very careful with this. Okay. After that, you need to take in chain custody. Chain custody is just a sheet of paper that contains everyone that was responsible for the evidence. The evidence it passed from one person to other, and everyone has to be signed on this sheet of paper. Okay. The next step is to create a forensic copy. Forensic copy is necessary because you don't want to use your evidence directly, because sometimes this computer can be not the best way and can ruin, because if you use a lot of use it directly, and you can change your evidence. And you need also to create copies if you have a lot of people, a lot of sites on your case. So you need to create a forensic copy, maybe even 2 forensic copies. These are a bit mirror image. So this has every bit in the device, and so you can do carving operation and recover everything that is maybe marked as the letter, and is so you can rescue a lot of evidence and very interesting information with that. Okay, after that, you need to create, make a hash the evidence. The evidence is hashed, and hash function is is a mathematical operation, an algorithm that from a lot some set of data create a hash value that change a lot if something is changing in the original data. So if you is just a little bit of information change, you will have a very different hash value. Okay, the easiest way to create a forensic copy is to remove the hard disk and use a forensic duplication like Tableau TD3 or something else, or use a write blocker to connect to a PC and maybe use a SATA connector. If you can use alternatively, you can use a USB write blocker like freeware USB disk access manager, but you know if you have some adapter to the hard disk, or if you are going to make forensic copy of a thumb drive. After that, there are freeware that you can use to create the image, the forensic image, like FTK measure, and you should prefer expert witness format. Expert witness format is just the standard in the industry, so many software can use it, like Autopsy SleuthKit. You can also use some Linux distribution. I just put them with two of specialized distribution on forensics, like examples like SleuthKit or Deft. There are others, and the important feature on this is that they don't auto-mount the partitions, because when you mount a partition, you change the dates on this, so you can change just some bit information and some last read information inside the partition. So if you are going to make forensics, you must be sure that is read only. Okay, you need to do that, discover the devices, use fdisk /l, or and after that you need to mount the partition on read-only mode. See the RO option that is on red. You will see this is just by command line. Many forensic distribution has a graphical user interface tools, graphical tools that are easier to use, but this is always present. Another way to create an image, a forensic image, is using WebMager. WebMager is graphical, it's easy, and you can use expert witness format and others newer format, but I see this is the standard. Okay. The next step in our work of forensic is analyze evidence. We are going to show you how to use Autopsy SleuthKit. Is open source, is extensible, is mature, it started over 20 years ago. It's multi-platform, so you can use it on Linux or on Windows. And it's multi-user, so if you want, you can use just in single user, or you can use a server client architecture and has some the process in server installation. Okay. In the evidence analysis has some steps. Create new case is the first. Create new case, add evidence. The evidence can be the forensic image that we created in the previous step. Automated analysis is selecting some plugins and putting the computer to process evidence and extract some artifacts and some things that can be interesting. Manual analysis is when you took everything that the automated evidence analysis has found and flag it and see by hand, one by one, see if something is relevant to the case. And after that, we are going to deliver a report. Evidence analysis, start creating a new case, entering basic data like the expert forensic name or the number of case or things like that. This obviously depends on your office, how you classify things. It's just metadata. And after that, we're going to add evidence like forensic devices. Data source can be file systems, can be forensic image, compressed files, virtual machines, virtual disks. RAM memory dumps. After that, we are going to select plugins. Every one of these plugins has a very specific task, and some of them you should always use, like hashing your evidence or identify meme types, because identifying meme types relies on the file signatures. Or these are specific patterns of bytes inside the structure of the file. And if you have this, you see that this is maybe a JPEG, an image of the same format like PNG or JPEG. And this is useful because sometimes users change extensions and the extension doesn't match what is inside the file. You can unzip files. Unzip files is very useful because this can automate the process of seeing what is inside compressed files. If they are encrypted, you are not encrypted it automatically. It is not possible. Then you can extract images embedded inside documents like Word documents or PDF. Parse browse data. Browse data are very important because you can see what with history, cookies, bookmarks, passwords. You can extract very important information from registry also in Windows on configuration files. Okay, after these plugins and while this automated analysis is running, because Autopsy can let you see the results while it's processing, so you don't have to wait a lot to start to see something. You can check it manually. As you see, there are three main widgets in the main screen of Autopsy. One is the tree viewer. Tree viewer has branches, and inside the branches, every leaf is a category of information. This information is shown on result viewer, which is a table-like show, like spreadsheet, and you can put it on thumbnail mode, which you can see thumbnails of every image. And when you select some result, one row or one thumbnail, you can see below the content viewer. The content viewer you can see the detailed viewer of everything on your evidence. There are different formats. One is just like an image, like you see that, or like text extracted, everything. There are a lot of specialized models to see evidence in many different ways, like timeline or to see multimedia, but this is the main screen. Okay, after that, you are going to flag the evidence or categorize the files or the artifacts or the evidence that are important for report and create a report. The reports can be extendable, but there are many output formats like HTML or PDF, and you see this is your deliverable to your client or somebody who asks you for this work. Okay. Now we are going to see how to extend Autopsy using Python. First, Autopsy or SleuthKit, the framework, that Autopsy uses is developed in Java. So there are just two ways to extend Autopsy. One is using Java and the other is using Python. First, I'm going to say that a programming language is just the specification. And after the specification, the rules that make the language, exist an implementation or many implementation of this specification. When you install Python on your computer, normally you use CPython, which is Python written in C language. But you can use Python written in other programming language like Java, Script, or even in Python itself. So we are going to use Python, which is an implementation of Python using Java. Using Python, you can create your workstation, configure your workstation. First, we're going to configure your IDE, your integrated development environment. Create a skeleton structure, a directory structure to put your modules. Choose some module type. Choose some output format and copy and adapt a tutorial model. There are some tutorial models, or you can use the plugin that I'm showing you as an example. Okay, there are two available integrated development environments that can be configured to use Python and the framework SleuthKit API. First, an IntelliJ IDEA, this I choose. The other is NetBeans. After that, we need to choose some output format. There are two ways to output the information we are processing with our model. First is the report, which is the easiest way, or using the blackboard. The blackboard is that structure, a database that has artifacts inside it. Artifacts are things that describe things on your evidence, like a bookmark or a cookie or a file, a data source. This has a type of artifact, the file associated with this artifact, because it can be, for example, the SQLite where there is located physically the bookmarks, or can be the file, the name of the file, and some attributes that are just per name value, where you can see them on the result viewer. So we can see in this screenshot, there are reports below tags. Reports are artifacts are above, and you can see that there are many types of artifacts. Are operating user account, web download, web history, web search, user accounts, and report will be below tags. Below tags will be located. Okay, there are three types of modules that you can create using Python on for Autopsy. One is a file processing module. File processing module, it receives and analyzes each file content on data sources. Okay, so you will go through every file, and this is useful if you don't know exactly where can be the thing that you are searching. For example, when you want to see videos or images, it can be anywhere inside the file system. The other is data source process module. The data source process module are used when you know you have one idea, you have where exactly to search the information. For example, with you are processing the registry, you will see you know exactly where is registry on Windows operating system or some configuration files. You can use report module too. Report modules are when you need that the thing runs after everything is done, even manual analysis is done, and can be used for the after everything. So what kind of module you go if you want to go to each file? File processing. If you know exactly where you're looking for, data source module, and if you need this to run manually and after everything, report. Okay. First, I'm going to say the NIST, National Institute of Standard and Technology on United States, receives create a database of file hashes of well-known files that are included on operating system, on package like Word, like Office or Microsoft Office, or things like that that are very well known. And the plugin I am going to show, I will start with every file. I will see if it is a very well known file that is included on the NIST database. And after that, I am going to classify it on subfolders by mimetype and append it everyone on a CSV file, text file. First, we need to create the class. This class is inherited from general report module adapter. We are going to set the main properties. The main properties are the name, module name, the description, and a relative file path. After that, I want to say you that you need some log, because this is the only way you could see if something is working bad. You don't have the possibility of print things or some other kind of debugging. This is your main tool to debugging. And after configuring it, you can see it on the tool menu, choosing C log file. Then you have the main function on this plugin. The main process is done on generate report function, and the file name is from the get relative file path with this with one of the properties. And you must remember that you must use the codecs module from Python and open it, creating it using UTF-8. UTF-8 is important because if you have some Unicode character inside your file names, everything will crash. And it's important so you are safer using Unicode on your Destiny CSV file. After that, we are going to instantiate SleuthKit case, just the object, and create a list of files that are not directory. After that, we are going to create the basic structure to copy the files. We are going to create the main file of destination file of our copied files. and one special subdirectory to files that has no identified meme type others. We are going to replace the name in the name of meme type the slash by the underscores to create valid file names. Then we are going to see which directory will be the destination. We are going to create one list of the values we are going to put on your CSV, right on this, like the type directory, the name, the parent path, so we can see where it was, the ID, the MD5 hash. Then we are going to process just the files that are known, marked as well known, and we are going to try to create content adhere for this meme type if it doesn't exist, and then copy them on the destination folder, destination directory. And finally, we are going to close the CSV file and add the report that we have just generated to the tree, like a new report with the name of module name and some description, copy non-known files. Okay. Finally, we will see if you do everything okay. We will see this on the menu tools, generate report. And this will be added to the report modules. Well, we want to get evidence. We talk some about some things we can watch about this and have some, yeah, be carefully with this. Make some forensic copies, data analysis, just an introduction to autopsy. Autopsy is very interesting for field software, and some introduction to extending autopsy with Python, and just some bits and some notes taken from the sample plugin I have. Okay, that's all. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Maria. So everyone out there, now is the time to ask any questions that you have. If you are not able to stick around for the Q&A session, when you leave the webinar, you will see a survey. We would love it if you would just take a minute to let us know your thoughts. Your feedback is really important to us. So while we wait for some of those questions to come in, I also want to remind you that this presentation is recorded and a link will be emailed to everyone who registered. So please feel free to share it if you think it could be useful to somebody. That being said, let's get to the questions. The first thing I did want to ask you actually is, do you have other languages that the slide deck is in?
Yes, I have done it in Spanish.
In Spanish.
I have read this talk in Spanish.
Great. If you could send that to me afterwards, that would be great. So we have that and I can distribute that to anybody who asked. Okay. Sorry. Autopsy ingest models are plugins.
Yes, are plugins.
Yeah.
Yes, they are plugins. There are plugins that came by default and are very central to autopsy, but they are this is the architecture of autopsy. You have many plugins, and you process your evidence and a workflow. And there are workflow because some plugins depends on the information extracted by the previous one. So you have some order on the process.
And what tool do you use for remote disk memory acquisitions?
Remote desk. No, I normally we don't do that, so I can't answer it. Sorry.
Got it. Okay. After you hashed each evidence, do you need to take not each one in a paper as another backup, or it goes directly to the report?
Can you ask me again, please?
Yeah, sorry. After you hashed each evidence, do you need to take note of each one in a paper as another backup, or if it goes directly to the report?
It goes directly to the report. It's not.
Okay, some of these questions came in on Spanish, so I'm going to try to translate them while you answer the next question. Does Autopsy support Python 3 point blank? 3.x? Oh, Maria froze on us. Hopefully she will return in the next.
Okay.
You're back. Sorry, you froze on us for a second. Oh, and it looks like she's frozen again. We were having some of the same issues a little bit earlier. I'm glad she made it at least all the way through the rest of the presentation. All right, well, I guess timing was not really on Maria's side when it came to Q&A, and I apologize because we are getting a number of different, of questions coming in. Sorry, everybody. Thank you for joining us. I am really happy that it did stay here, at least for throughout the presentation. For anybody that is looking for the recording of the presentation, we will be sending that out within a few hours once the webinar ends. As mentioned before, you can also connect with with Maria on LinkedIn, and you can try to reach her there or find out when she's speaking virtually again. I'll send out an email with that link in a few hours along with that recording. To get updates on all of our upcoming webinars, go to osdfcon.org/webinars. As mentioned a few times already, there is a survey that should take you just a few minutes to fill out. So we'd love it if you don't mind spending just a minute doing that. Your feedback is really important and does allow us to continue to improve our webinars. So that's it. Maria, if you can hear me, thank you very much for joining us today and for doing this presentation, and to everybody out there that stayed on. Thank you for all your questions, and I really do apologize that we weren't able to answer all of them. So reach out to Maria, and thank you. Stay healthy out there. We hope to see you on the next one. Have a great rest of your day.